Hello. Welcome to Over the Wall podcast. Um, we did some of this last year. Me and Scully got very busy and I think we went in too many directions. We did an NFL draft, we did basketball. I think this season we're just keeping it to our roots where we like 162 games, make it baseball. We may talk other sports in mix, but our main focus will be getting everybody through the 2023 season. A lot of changes coming to baseball this year. I'm really excited about it. It's getting the shift going away, the pitch clocks being introduced. Um,
And the bases
Different
too.
balk rules. The
Can't forget
bases
the
are bigger.
bases.
Yeah, definitely check out our Twitter. Me and him are both gonna be very heavily active on Twitter this season, like live tweeting games. Um, I can't wait till the narrative. The old people, the same thing with the universal DHs. I remember when the bases were smaller. But we have a lot of things this season. We are going to break down. Hopefully, this is the first video you're starting with. But if you pick your favorite team, I get it. We are breaking through all 32 teams before we get to the end. Where we think they rank, what they lost, what they gained, basically over off-season moves. We'll kind of grade them on the fly of how we thought they did overall. There'll be a season predictions how we think they're overall going to finish, but the main topic for these first five are these teams fixable? And I think we have like a resounding same answer on this, but we'll get to that when we get to that. The first team up, and this I want to wash my hands. First of all, Thomas Scully, my co-host on the show. We are very biased when we say this. We'll do our best to keep it as neutral as possible. He has three kind of fan bases. He doesn't talk about them, but I think he like Red Sox are number one, but Braves and Cubs are somewhere in the mix of fandom.
I would say the Cubs
Like
are
to see him
probably.
good.
I would say the Cubs are probably number two because I have a lot of family from that area. Plus, I went to school like half a mile from Wrigley Field, uh,
Okay.
and I live in Atlanta now, so I go to a lot of Braves games. At good old Truist Park, which it's like it's like if modern architecture was a ballpark. I appreciate all the new bells and whistles, but I'll be honest, I'll take Turner Field any day of the week.
I really like the look of it, but I understand I've not been there, so that's
The
fair.
inside, it's chaotic. Like there's rock walls for kids, there's zip lines, there's like hundreds of different like weird restaurants. It's just it's honestly overkill.
That's fair. Okay, so we went off Scully's rankings. Me and Scully both predicted like power ranked where we thought this current season was. We're basically in lockstep in the same areas almost. I would say I have some teams a little higher than he does. He has some teams a little higher than I would. But we all settled on this. So I went with Scully's. I'm going to tell where I disagree on certain things, where I would put a team lower or higher. But the first team on that we're talking about, it's Oakland Athletics. Oakland Athletics, the worst team in baseball. And that's just to their own stance. I will say there's some teams that are like in small markets that go through dips and valleys. Oakland is there for their own reasoning, in my opinion. They've tried to play small market, but beyond small market for so long. There's nobody at the fans. If you're an Oakland Athletic fan, I would love to have like an actual conversation with you and like talk to you. Like, how do you get ready? Like, it's February when we're recording this. I'm about as jacked as possible, and my team is in as much influx as it's ever been. And I could not imagine going into the season being an Oakland Athletic fan. I just
Basically,
don't.
how are you still alive? Is I think
Yeah,
the general question.
like they were good mid 2010s. Like they had those runs. They had division. They were doing Bob Melvin. They were that team. They had so much young, but once the young goes away, they don't know how to replenish and they won't spend. Is our biggest problem. So we're gonna first start with basically what they added this season and what they lost. So Scully, if you want to take it away and tell us what they added and what they lost.
Well, yeah, and the big highlight of their off season was trading away Sean Murphy to the Atlanta Braves, and they got a fairly sizable return. They got Kyle Muller from the Braves. He was their top pitching prospect. They got Esteury Ruiz from the Brewers. He's super solid. And they also got Manny Pena, who provides catcher depth with the loss of Murphy. So overall, not a bad trade for them, but I think the inclusion of Milwaukee in that deal kind of diluted what their return would have been. So I give credit to Alex Anthopoulos and the Braves front office for not making this seem like highway robbery in favor of the A's. And then Murphy, of course, signing that massive extension right after the trade in typical Atlanta fashion. They also lost Chad Pinder in the offseason. He walked away in free agency. And Stephen Vogt retired after having one of the most memorable final games in my recent recent history. And a lot of these acquisitions by them, the more I look at them, the more I think that these guys are going to be on different teams by the start of August. A guy like Aguilar, if he's able to hit well, then he's going to be trade bait, and it'll be a way for Oakland to replenish their farm system that, unlike some of the other bad teams in the league, isn't going to be enough for them to get out of the hole that they've dug themselves into.
What I was interested in. Well, I think he's back as a coach. I don't know if
Vogt.
I think after that home run, I think he's still in the organization. I just don't think he's not playing, obviously. And I guess Aguilar is going to be like on a Nelson Cruz kind of deal. Like if he has a good first half, he'll be put to a contender. I was just surprised there were some teams out there that needed first base depth, and his was like a $7 million deal. Like the Red Sox were hinted at him for a long time in first base help for the longest time, and he just went with like hardly anything. Thought it was interesting. I will say, like, acquire makes sense in more trades, but again, they left some people. What you did say is the trade of Sean Murphy to Atlanta still would like Atlanta like looked in on. I think there's some dealings by that GM that makes them sign below average contracts across the world and makes the rest of us look like cheapskates when we don't offer it. So maybe he needs to teach the Padres how to spend some money because they just know how to throw it. They don't know how to like.
Yeah, and another guy that I'm surprised went there is Aledis Diaz. I mean, this is a guy who's been shortstop for a World Series winning franchise, and he signs with Oakland. I mean, I think he could have gotten a pretty solid multi-year deal other places where they needed depth. I guess maybe he just wanted to go somewhere where he was a starter.
Well, I get stuff, but oh God! Like you're just signing up to what? Because now with the rule change with the schedule, you're signed up to lose to the Astros 14 times this year instead of 19. Like I think it's just a terrible choice overall. What we will talk about is what we're doing is I think we will talk about this more in the projections. We both have this team finishing dead last in the West. Is this team fixable? It is fixable. It's 100% fixable. This is how you fix them. You sell the team. You sell the team to somebody that wants to spend money. It's the only way you do, and you move the team. I don't know if Oakland will fully ever like come back. Like that stadium's god awful. First of all, stadium sucks. Second, I think this team just needs to follow with the Raiders and go to Las Vegas and start a franchise there. I think they'd have a great team. I think they'd have a backing that would love to go see them win. Like the Vegas Golden Knights and the Raiders had sellouts all the time, and the Raiders suck. So
And you automatically live in a market where money goes to just be spent.
Right. It's late at night. It's a day game before like gambling and stuff. People want to go see a game. It's easy with this new pace of play too. I think it's going to be increased.
Not to mention, I want to say a few years ago there was chatter about if Vegas were to get a baseball team, it would have the first ever sports book inside of a baseball stadium. Do you imagine if there was a sports book inside the stadium?
I just don't know how that works. like I understand how it works, but the whole thing about a sports book is you make bets and you sit and watch the other games. Like, I mean, if it was active all season long, like you're telling me I could go watch March Madness at the Vegas Dome, like that. Okay, I'm fully on board with that.
If I watched March Madness at a Vegas sports book, you would not be able to get me to leave. I would
Yeah,
be
that's true.
glued for the entire month.
Yeah, that's the only
No
things.
food, no drink, no sleep. All bets, all 24 hours.
That's the only thing saving me till baseball season. My favorite time of year, March Madness. Um, what we will talk about is so the athletics. The people. So we each picked an MVP for the team, a team person that's going to carry the team, and a player to watch. Um, Mine is Jesus Aguilar. I think if there's going to be a person that's going to drive in and hit home runs and be at least somewhat of a force, I think he can do it. I think in first base. I don't know. I think there's some prospects that I'm probably not too familiar with this because I don't travel to that side of Oakland. But that's who my pick would be. Who do you got?
I got really the only guy still there from their last playoff run, Seth Brown. I mean,
Okay.
he had a pretty solid season last year. He's been a solid player for them, but from a clubhouse standpoint, he's the only guy who's been there for really longer than a few years. I mean, he made his debut in 2019. You know, I mean, it's insane how much this team has lost in 3 years. So I think he's going to be, from a clubhouse standpoint, he's going to be the guy to help lead them. I like we said about Aguilar. I think he's also going to be, from a playing standpoint, one of those guys. But I think overall, I think Seth Brown is their most valuable guy in there right now.
And who's your player to watch?
Player to watch is another guy acquired in a different trade with the Atlanta Braves. Catcher Shea Langeliers, I believe that's how you pronounce it.
Langeliers, I think is how. But I'm
I think you're right. It's Langeliers. A lot of what their future is depends on guys like him and Christian Pache stepping up. I think especially with how important catchers seem to be nowadays, with Ali Rushman in Baltimore, the rise of JT Realmuto in Philly. Those guys can really command the field, kind of like a quarterback would do in football or a safety would do on defense. You know, they see everything out there. So I think he's going to really have to step it up this year and be a leader, not just in the clubhouse, but at the plate as well. He needs to prove a lot about his game. He didn't have the best start at the plate to his career, but again, he's still young. He's going to be in his second year. But he's the guy who I think if he's able to develop properly, it's going to be a really exciting player to watch in Oakland, and maybe in a few years he'll be traded to the Yankees.
Yay. So and I have the same exact one. I think he'll be the bright spot of this team to watch. At least he's young. Watch him because he's young, because that's what you get. I exclusively, and this is just no bias to myself, I'm a Barstool supporter. I like Barstool Sports. Come at me. But from their sports book, if you think this team has the chance to win the West, they beat at Houston. They're plus 20,000 to win. So if you have a bet, we will talk about. I mean, Scully kind of talked this before, but I think it just makes sense to do this on their episodes, kind of. Their win total for this season sits right now at 59.5. Do they hit 60? Because what we think about in baseball, let's think about this in baseball. Even the worst teams always win around 50, 60 games. They are bound to let up, they're bound to get hot, they're bound to go through a stretch. 59.5 is minus 20, is 121. Under is minus 108. With this team, I may lean to the under. I think this team could be a 55-win team.
Yeah, I mean, they won 60 last year, but that was with guys like Frankie Montas and Sean Murphy.
And didn't they have did he get traded midseason or was he already off the team? Was Sean Mania? Was he already gone?
Mania was, I believe he was already gone.
Okay. I just know the Mania and Montas were the two. So if I was a betting man, which I am, I would bet the under 59.5. I think they go under. I think they're 55-win teams in personal.
55, yeah, that's about right. Especially with how much Texas improved in the offseason. And if you have any hope in the Angels whatsoever, I guess.
Well, if you watch our last year's episode, I had a lot of faith in the Angels, and somebody scoffed at me and told me I was an idiot. And at the beginning of the year, I was looking like a freaking genius. And then I've never seen a car go faster off a cliff in my entire life. Andrew Barr, shout out if he watches it. He's one of our proud watchers. Shout out and go, Scully couldn't be more wrong about this Angels team. And from that day on, they lost. So hats off to Andrew Barr for cursing me. But yes, we'll wrap this episode up real quick. Sell the team, Oakland. Get a team, get an owner. I think this is going to be a theme for me for all of baseball. Owners, there's a lot of people with a lot of money out there. Buy a sports team. If you buy a sports team and you own a sports team, compete with the sports team. Stop playing. I don't know why you'd want to show up to this fan base and be miserable. I would love a billionaire like Steve Cohen. Everybody that says Steve Cohen's ruining this game, Steve Cohen is pissing off owners for being cheapskates. I will say it off the hand. Do I want him to blow up contracts and make stupid decisions like the Padres and stuff? We'll talk about those teams later. But sell your teams, get people in there that are fans and they're competitive and they want to win. Because I would love a Steve Cohen to buy my team and just buy who we thought to win.
Yeah. Steve Cohen is going to change who owns sports teams in general. I'll go as far as to say that.
All right. So, Oakland Athletics, I'm sorry. We will be doing this in 2024, and I guarantee you may be the 30th ranked spot again. So, on that note, like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at, I think it's Over the Wall Pod. I have no idea what our Twitter handle is.
Over the Wall Pod.
Over the Wall Pod. New logo, new year. We're going to be consistent all year long. We're going to be giving sports. If I can't be here, if only Scully, we will be talking baseball, catching people up. We might have guest people, but like, comment, subscribe, follow the Twitter. That's where we'll be most active, and we'll try to. Again, schedule may change. We're not locking down, but Mondays and Fridays is when our 2 episodes are hopefully going to drop, and we're going to be featuring sports betting this season. So follow with us. See if you can make some money with us. Me and Scully are going to have competitions throughout. See how we do. He's going to wipe the floor with me, but I want to see if I can get close. I want to see if I can get close this season. So tune in for the next episode. Little hint. It's in the nation's capital.